me and Trish, we originally met at school actually. So I was 14 and Trish was 15 in the same year, and we've literally been together ever since. So since 1999, so it's been 22 years now we've been together. We had our first child called Lily, who's now 15, a second son called Harry, who's now 14. We've got a little boy called Henry, who's 9, is he 9 now? And then Poppy, who's 7. And kind of that's the background to us. We got married, and back in 2008 it was, we got married. And now we've also got a little girl called Daisy, who's just not long turned 1. So we've got quite a big family, to be honest. We've got our hands full, quite busy, very hands-on, to be honest. But yeah, we wouldn't have it any other way. It's one thing we wanted to do when we was younger, was have a big family.
So my pregnancy with Teddy was pretty straightforward. There was no problems until the day of my 20-week scan. Well, everything seemed fine through the scan. You know, we've seen the little heart beating away, and look, we didn't know that he was a boy. We've never found out the sex of the babies. We've always waited until they're born. And we've seen his little button nose, and he was so cute, and the baby had grown so much since the last 12-week scan. So to us, it was the same scan as that we've had with the previous 4 children. You know, everything was fine. We'd seen the heartbeat. The first thing you look for is the heartbeat, is everything okay? And the baby was so much bigger from the 12-week scan, so to us everything was absolutely fine.
He was getting movements as well, wasn't he? In terms of like starting to get the kicking and the moving, so it just seemed.
So yeah, so the sonographer finished the scan. She got all the measurements as they do. I stood up to, you know, wipe the jelly off my tummy and get up as you do and count your money for your scan picture. And she just said, "Could you just sit back down? There's something I need to talk to you about." And that was it. I seen the look on her face, and I knew that there was something wasn't right. But I wasn't too panicked, because I thought, no, we've just seen the heartbeat, you know, it can't be too bad. Yeah, of course. So I did. I sat back down, and she just said, you know, I'll never forget the words. She just said, "I'm so sorry." Well, she kind of whispered it. She said, I'm so sorry, but there's something wrong with your baby." And then that moment, it was a big shock, because we'd seen the heart beating, the baby had grown so much, and it was just like all our other scans, like, you know, that can't be true, it can't be true. But it was true. He was very poorly, and he was born a week later. So he was born at 21 weeks. We had him on the Eden suite at Highlands Hospital, and we were cared for by the team there that were wonderful. And we spent some time with him, and we'd done his handprints, didn't we? And we dressed him and changed him and took so many photos. But it was just hard to believe that that could happen after having 4 healthy pregnancies. It was just complete shock. We never expected that to happen. So that was really difficult to deal with. It was really hard to know that he was poorly and he wasn't going to make it. It was really hard.
I think for us it was the first time, as I said, we met young, we got married, had 4 healthy children. It was the first time we'd ever dealt with anything like that, to be honest. And I think it burst our bubble there and then, because we was on a real, you know, I think life had been going so well, and then all of a sudden it just fell apart from that moment. And I think even for the other children, that, you know, to go back and wonder what's happened to mum's bump and trying to explain things to them, it's just, to be honest, our life was a mess from that minute. And it's you know, I think only now do we know it was going to get worse when we was then to go on and to lose Rose. But yeah, we
decided to try again, and that's what we did. And thankfully we got pregnant quite soon, and that was with Rose. Obviously, again, we didn't know the sex of the baby. We've never found out. And everything, again, in that pregnancy, it all seemed fine, straightforward. A very anxious pregnancy, very worried. Of course. After what happened to Teddy, I just couldn't relax. You know, I was always on edge. There was something, you know.
I just kept thinking it was going to go wrong. To be honest, something's going to happen again.
But we got to our 12 week. We had more checks this time, more tests. We got to our 12-week scan. It was good. We just kept putting past the milestones. Got to our 20-week scan. It was all good, and we just started to relax a little bit. And my bump was getting bigger. I was making sure I was checking on my movements. I was really careful to count my kicks, and everything seemed absolutely fine. Then we got towards the end when did we find out about the Group B strep?
I think it was early 30 weeks. Yeah, it was just like a routine swab, and they found out that basically you had Group B strep, which...
Yeah, but it was nothing to worry about, you know, until labour, that you would need antibiotics in labour. And it was nothing to worry about, and that's what I was told a lot, you know, it's nothing to worry about, because at first I was like, oh no, what's this? But actually, you know, they say that antibiotics in labour, you know, you'll be fine, everything will be fine. So we continued, and we started to relax, you know. I was getting my movements, everything was fine, the pregnancy was healthy, all my checks were fine, I was having scans. Even 2 days before Rose was born, I had a scan that day.
She was 5 days overdue at that point, so we went past the due date. She literally, was it 5 days overdue?
She was due on our wedding anniversary. Yeah, so was Teddy the year before. 20th of September was our wedding anniversary. And that was both of their due dates. Or obviously Teddy was born in the May, the 10th of May, early, where Rose was the 27th of September, so a week after our anniversary. But yeah, so we were a week overdue, and I went for that scan, and 2 days before everything was fine, and there was no signs, my movements was all good. Even the night before, movements was absolutely fine.
We've got a video which we look back with. It's probably, to be honest, it's too painful to look back on at the moment, but we did in the early days. Where Trisha's literally sitting on the sofa here, and a bump is just kicking all over. Literally, it was the night. That's the night before, and I'm talking like on the evening before Rose actually died, and we'll never understand it. But
so yeah, I just went to bed as normal. I always was careful to count my kicks before I went to sleep. I never went to sleep till I had so many kicks. I was quite obsessed with counting the kicks, because to me that was my way of knowing that my baby was okay. You know, your first signs, if you reduce movements, there's something wrong. But I never had any of them signs. You know, everything was fine, how it should be. I was just eagerly waiting for labour to kick in. Just like my other pregnancies.
We had a couple of false starts, so didn't we? Around the due date, she thought it was in labour. I rushed back from football, and then it was, no, you're not. And we kind of was a bit like...
Just a little false start.
It was, yeah.
So yeah, we went to bed on that evening as normal, and then woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and started to get contractions. I knew this was it. So I was timing my contractions. Come 7 o'clock in the morning, they're thick and fast now. I'm in established labour now. You know, I've done this before, I know what this is. So we headed off up to the hospital, left the children to go off to school. You know, we told them that this was it.
It's the day, yeah.
This is the day, and the baby's coming today. That rainbow baby, what she should be. So we made our way to hospital, and it seemed like we hit every red light. I remember telling Mike off.
She was trying to tell me to go through red lights, which obviously I didn't do.
For driving too slow, because I just needed to get to hospital. I needed a bit of gas and air, and so we got there, and Mark, you parked the car up, didn't you?
I dropped you off to the door, didn't she? She was in that much. We had to get to the maternity doors at Heartland.
So I grabbed my green notes and off I went, made my way in on my own, and yeah, so I got in, and I told them straight away I'm Group B strep, you know, because I wanted to get onto the antibiotics, and they quickly took me in and quickly assessed me. And as soon, I was probably in there 5-10 minutes before, you know, that's how soon I was in there. And they put the
monitor on, didn't they?
Yeah, the monitor on, and straight away I could tell there was something wrong. I could see their eyes, and then they swapped the monitor and tried another monitor. And I said, is everything okay? Is everything okay? And she just said, the baby's heart rate is faint. We need to take you for a cesarean section. And then there was the room filled up with doctors and midwives, and then Mike come in with a car seat in the bag, and it was like, oh no, it's going wrong. Right? They said the heart rate's fine. There's something wrong, and he just said to me, it'll be okay. You know, it's okay. I remember you saying, you asked, is there a heartbeat?
Yeah, I remember, because they pulled the Red Bulls. They liked to. It was like literally the Cat 1 it was, and I remember saying to the midwife as they was pushing her down, because there was something unknown if I could go into theatre with her.
Because it was a general anaesthetic.
In the end, I wasn't allowed because it was just too much of a rush. But I remember saying to the lady, you know, is there a heartbeat? Because I obviously wanted to understand what was going on. She went, there is, but it's faint. And I think, you know, we've said before, you watch like One Born every minute and you see these scares, and they always, on those kind of programmes, they always end well, and you kind of, we still had hope at the end of the day. They wouldn't be taken to theatre if there wasn't hope, and then from that minute, I mean, they rushed her off, and I just remember waiting outside the theatre doors, and it felt forever, and actually it was forever. I was waiting for about 30-40 minutes, but it felt like hours, and I remember waiting outside the doors and just thinking, you know, why isn't the baby coming out yet? I've seen how quick they do the C-sections, and I was asking all these people coming in and out the doors, and nobody would give me a straight answer, because you could tell little did I know there was trying to resus Rose because she was born. She was stillborn.
I worked on her for 40 minutes.
Worked on her for 40 minutes. So as I'm outside, they're kind of, I wouldn't say stalling me, but they've got nothing to tell me at the minute because they're still trying to save her. But I remember, and I'll never forget it, I heard a newborn baby cry, which was obviously not Rose. It was coming from another area, and I remember sort of thinking, oh, I can hear a baby. Looked around, and I was literally that close to the doors. Nobody came out, and eventually someone come out to me and called me through the doors, and it was a room. It was the team who had been working on, and I looked at them straight away, and there was floods of tears from the team. The midwives were just all in tears, and I looked at them, and the lady said to me, I just remember saying to tell me what's happened. Just tell me, has the baby died? And she said, you've had a daughter, but she's died.
Obviously, I was still asleep under general anaesthetic at that point, so I didn't know. The last words I heard was Mike saying, Tish, it'll be okay. I know you're scared, but it'll be okay. Then when I did wake up in recovery, I didn't quite know what was going on, and the room, there was only Mike and Nikki, the bereavement midwife, in the room, that no one was around. I didn't quite know what was happening at this point. And I just remember Mike saying to me, Trish, you need to listen to me, look at me, you need to listen. She was
still, to be honest, she weren't quite focusing on it. She literally just woke up from the medication it was, didn't you?
Yeah, and I just remember the words that I'll never forget, and he just said, you need to listen. We've had a little girl, but we've lost her. She's gone with Teddy. I just would not accept that. I would not. And I didn't believe him. I wouldn't have him. I would not have him.
It was obviously, as you can imagine, it's when they said to me that she died, and I remember just saying to what where is she? And they said, obviously, you know, we'll bring her to you, and they wheeled her out in the little baby cots which they have, and she was literally £8.6. She was a full. She looked no different to our other child. She was a full baby, but she looked like she was just sleeping. But you know,
again, they've all got this like little piggy nose, and she was so beautiful. She looked very peachy. She was just asleep.
You just would have looked and seen she's asleep. And
lovely dark fluffy hair, and lovely hands. She had lovely hands.
She was just she was everything you'd expect or you'd dream of, really, in terms of a baby. But yeah, and I held her in one of the rooms. I asked them to just leave. They said, do you want us to stay with you? Do you want to leave? I said, can you just leave me with her for a bit? And I just held her, really. And then I said to them, as Trish said, I said, please don't tell Trish. I want to be the one to tell her. And it was horrible because I had to leave. I left Rose with Nikki because I didn't want Trish to wake up and see me holding a baby and think it's just Mike holding a baby. So I said, as Trish
because
said,
that's what I visioned I was going to see. I thought I was going to, when I wake up, I'm going to see Mike, because I was scared about having the cesarean section because I've always had, normal births. So I was really more scared about having an operation, having a major operation. I didn't really, I knew that the baby's heart rate was going, but like you say, you see all these programmes where it always ends well. So I didn't really think that, that the baby would die. I didn't, not for 1 minute did that cross my mind. It was more about the operation. And I visioned that I was going to see Mike holding the baby, because usually I'm the first one, they put the baby onto my chest. So it was all just a little bit different. It wasn't how we planned it. But it obviously didn't go that way. But I just could not accept it. I was saying, no, babies do not die at full time. Healthy babies don't die.
Especially like kicking the night before, like it just doesn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't. there's a pattern of, you know, because how a few days of movement's low, you think, well, there's a sign. When you go to sleep and wake up in labour, it's no different to what we've always done. You go to hospital and you have a baby, it's just normal.
There was no warning, it was no warning at all. I think what made me realise that actually, because it doesn't matter how Mike kept telling me again, because I just couldn't understand, you know, it wouldn't register that we've had a baby and it's died. I just kept, why has it died? I couldn't understand. I just kept saying, not again, like, no. And it was only when I felt somebody rubbing my hand, and it was Nikki next to me, the bereavement midwife who was there when Teddy was born. It was only then did I realise this has happened to us. This has happened again.
They wouldn't be there otherwise, unfortunately. It's what they do. They're there at your side when
we were so grateful to have her there, because we just couldn't have got through it, could we? I know.